Hi, my name is Emily Sullivan. Hopefully, I've already been able to meet you. If not, it's unfortunate that I haven't been able to meet you. I'm in my second year of teaching language now, and I can safely say that it's one of my biggest passions in my life. I have a lot of interests, but language learning and language teaching is a huge, huge thing for me. So what I'm going to talk about is a few things regarding styles and techniques of language learning that I try to use in my classes with the kids, different types of assignments that we do, and grading breakdown. And then I guess I'll start with a little bit more about me. So I started just like these kids studying French in middle school and high school. I always felt like I was good at it because I had a good memory, so I was good at like remembering the grammar rules and doing the worksheets and everything like that. It was always the teacher's favorite. And I continued to study it in college because I thought, well, why not? I mean, it's kind of fun and I'm good at it. But then what happened after college, I enjoyed for my French classes, I enjoyed my French literature. I went to France to live there, and I felt like I could barely understand anything that anyone was saying. I was really scared to talk, and I had to do a lot of self-study by reading and forcing myself to have conversations with people and things like that. And so the year after that, I actually spent a year living in Sweden, and I taught myself Swedish. Well, I spent some time living in Sweden, then I came home, and then I went back to Sweden. Long story short, I taught myself Swedish completely independently, no classes, over the span of 2 years, based on living there, studying at home, listening to children's books, blah, blah. And I was able to achieve a really high level of fluency in Swedish really quickly. And since I became a language teacher, years after, kind of by happenstance, and I discovered how much I love it, I've really reflected on what exactly enabled me to pick up that language so quickly and so naturally and so fun, in such a fun way. And so I try to incorporate the things I've learned from my experiences learning languages in my classes. So for example, when I'm teaching myself a language, like right now I'm learning German, I've also taught myself Spanish, I don't spend a lot of time reading textbooks and I don't do worksheets. And so my thinking is, why would I make these kids read a textbook or do worksheets if I've found in my experience that that's not the most effective way necessarily to learn a language. So what I am really interested in is a concept or technique called comprehensible input. Comprehensible input is the idea that you want to be receiving as much input as you can. Input is either listening or reading, having the language presented to you at a level that is just above what you can understand. So you're struggling, you're not catching everything, but you're catching chunks of it. And if you can continue to do that, your brain automatically will get better at processing what's being transmitted to it, making sense of things, and the lasting understanding and connections of the words they're more lasting than necessarily studying things out of a book or memorizing a vocab list. So it's the idea of the supremacy of input, that listening and reading in the language is primarily how lasting connections are made in the brain. Another thing that I'm really interested in and I want to continue to learn more about is a thing called teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. So that is basically a teaching technique or curriculum based on reading short stories and telling stories out loud to each other. So something I really have been into lately is picture talk. So you look at pictures, you have supports, as you can see, all of my, I don't know how to point to it, classroom is covered in large text, French words with English word underneath, so that when I'm telling a story, showing pictures of the animals and the things and the places on the board, I can point, I don't need to speak English is the idea. I'm really minimizing how much translation and how much English I'm speaking. I can be telling my story about the cow in Canada killing the dragon with his sword, and whenever I'm using a new word that they might not understand, I can point to a picture, or I can point to the word on the wall and say, tableau, tableau. This is the tableau, right? So my classroom is kind of covered and stuff like that. Another thing that I'm really into is total physical response, and that is the idea that moving your body, like motion, kinetic, touch, feeling, builds lasting connections. So if you think of heads, shoulders, knees, and toes, the dance. I'm sure if you ask your students, your kids about this, we do that first with body parts to learn body parts. So we just practice associating words essentially with physical reality. And it works for gestures, body parts, facial expressions, emotions, anything like that. So I try to use that when I can because it's really efficient in getting vocab into your brain long term. Another thing, so I'm not a big fan of textbooks. I'm not a huge worksheet person anymore, obviously, but I do appreciate flashcards. I think when it comes to plugging and chugging, getting as many words into your vocabulary as possible so that you have your tools in your toolbox to try to express what you want to express, flashcarding can be very effective in getting a lot of words into your brain. And I really appreciate a website called Quizlet for flashcarding, and they have different games and things you can do with flashcards, so I use that a lot too. Another thing I think is important when you're learning language is having a lasting and personally formed connection to music, media, and culture that you discover on your own. So maybe a traditional way would be me showing a good French song that I think is good to the students in class. We'll listen to the song together. But the way we don't have class time to spend listening to music so much anymore. And I really believe I would rather have students find French movies, music, whatever, that they personally, genuinely enjoy. So how can I find one French song that every student in the class is going to appreciate? I really can't. So what I do have them do every Wednesday is like a media scavenger hunt. I want them, one of the options that they can do for the Wednesday assignment is to find 2 French language songs and then, tell me about them in the assignment. Or find a French TV show that you like, or find a French YouTuber that you like. I want it to be that the kids realize that they find maybe a French musician that they genuinely like listening to. That is so much more valuable and motivating to provide that exposure and that connection to the country and the language than anything that I could necessarily pick out and force feed them. So I'm a really big fan of doing that for at-home assignments. Okay, lastly, grading breakdown. I'm not a huge fan of traditional style quizzes and tests at the moment, at least. And I really think that so much of language learning comes from consistent practice and basically all these little things like bona fide, consistent, good-natured participation in classroom activities, listening, doing your flashcarding, finding the music and the movies and everything when it's assigned at home. I think that is so much more critical to what I want to see from a student than necessarily how they're doing on a written quiz. So I have 30% of the classroom grade be homework because I think that's fair, and it shouldn't be that 40 or 50% of the grade is quizzes and projects. I just don't think that that's representative of progress in language. That being said, as of right now, I still have 30% of the class grade breakdown be quizzes, 30% is class participation, just how much of a present, effortful student are you being in class. And 10% of the grade, the remaining, is our Flipgrid videos that might be part of the homework assignments. That Flipgrid is a website where they just make a video of themselves at home, and so I might use that to do speaking activities or have them recite something or read something out loud, or even just show me things while speaking French on top of it. All right, this video ran a little bit long, but that is the quickest explanation and breakdown of my language classes that I could give. I genuinely, truly appreciate every single student that I have. I think that all the kids in this town are great, but my French students they just bring me so much joy and meaning in my life, and I truly, genuinely believe that every single human being is capable of picking up multiple languages because we all learn one language as a baby, so it's not magic. It happens a certain way. And I really hope that you also believe that your child can be bilingual, trilingual, multilingual. It's really not magic, and it's something that they can do if they become interested in it and choose to do it, and I'm here to help them. So thank you so much for your support in this year, and I hope that your family stays healthy and is doing well. Thanks.